My name is Calvin. For 13 years, I've pushed a janitor's cart through the marble-floored lobby of Halden and Company, unseen and unheard. My sister Celeste walked that same lobby in polished heels, never once acknowledging me as family. Just another shadow in her spotlight. She used to say it loud enough for others to laugh. She's just the janitor, happens to share my last name, unfortunately. And every time I swallowed the burn, folded my green cloth, and kept mopping. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I spoke 9 languages, fluently, quietly, waiting. And the day the CEO watched me help 3 different visitors in 3 different tongues before most of the office had their first coffee, something cracked. Not in the floor beneath us, but in the story they'd all told themselves about me. This story isn't about revenge. It's about recognition. Earned, not gifted. It's about the silence we endure, and the moment we finally decide to break it. So if you've ever been the one doing all the work while someone else takes the stage, this one's for you. They never really looked at me. Not the ones in suits, not the interns with lanyards swinging from their necks. I was just part of the lobby, like the floor tiles or the coat rack by the front desk. Every morning at 8:35 sharp, I'd enter through the service door, adjust the mop heads, tuck my gloves into the pocket of my apron, and wheel my cart into the main hall of Halden and Company. The marble always shined, because I made it shine. No one ever noticed. The only ones who did notice made it worse. Celeste always arrived late enough to make an entrance. She had a voice like she belonged on a podcast, and the walk of someone who assumed people were watching. The first few months she worked here, she avoided me. Then one day, she saw me wiping down the elevator buttons and decided silence wasn't satisfying enough. "Oh, don't mind her," she said, motioning to me without looking. "That's just the janitor. My sister, technically, but only at family reunions." They laughed. Real laughter. One guy from marketing bent over his phone, trying not to spill his coffee. I remember gripping the mop handle a little tighter, telling myself not to react. The sting wasn't new. Celeste had been perfect since birth. Shiny grades, shiny friends, shiny job title. I was the one who stayed home when mom got sick. I was the one who dropped out of grad school when my niece needed someone to pick her up from daycare. But I didn't complain. Instead, I cleaned. Floors, windows, hallways. Every surface got the same treatment. Effort, precision, pride. My mother used to say, "You clean with dignity or not at all." I kept that with me. Every morning I stepped onto those marble floors. Still, that day hit different. I don't know if it was the way her voice rang across the lobby, or the way the receptionist kept typing like she didn't hear a thing. Maybe it was the guy who asked, "Wait, isn't she your sister?" And the way Celeste said, "Not at work, she's not," without missing a step. I didn't cry, I just walked. Back the chai through the hallway, into the stairwell, down to the janitor's closet, my space. Dim, dusty, but mine. I sat on the overturned bucket like I had hundreds of times before, and unfolded the green cloth I always kept in my apron. Rubbed it across my palm like a ritual. There's something about silence that settles into your bones. The kind of silence that doesn't mean peace, it means invisibility. That day, I didn't just feel invisible. I felt erased. But even in that stillness, I couldn't unlearn what I knew. The conjugations in French, the tones in Mandarin, the rhythm of Spanish, the clipped efficiency of German. I hadn't stopped studying, even after I left school. I read newspapers in other languages, borrowed audiobooks from the library. I practiced with online forums at night, when the world was asleep. I kept learning, because it was mine. I didn't know it yet, but all that quiet preparation was about to be seen in the loudest way possible. It started with a lost man in a stiff blazer standing by the touchscreen directory. He was squinting, map in hand, clearly overwhelmed. I knew that look. "Do you need some help?" I asked, instinctively, my tone gentle but fluent. His face lit up. "Yes, please," he replied. "I need the import division. 4th floor?" I smiled and pointed. "You'll want the elevator to your left. It's labeled Trade Coordination in English." He nodded, grateful, and walked off just as a delivery guy stumbled in, arms full. ¿Necesita ayuda? I asked in Spanish, grabbing a package before it fell. He blinked. Gracias. I barely noticed the vendor behind me, who muttered something in French about mislabeled packages. I answered without thinking. I froze when I saw him. Christopher Vance, CEO of Halden and Company, standing with one hand in his pocket and the other holding his glasses like a question he hadn't formed yet. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. Just watched. I wasn't sure if I should keep moving or vanish entirely. My hands itched for the green cloth in my apron, the one comfort I had when the world felt too sharp. But I didn't reach for it. Not yet. I pushed my cart forward slowly, pretending nothing had happened. Maybe he hadn't really noticed. Maybe I imagined the way the room shifted. But I felt it. The receptionist finally glanced up. One intern near the break room looked at me, then quickly away. The janitor was suddenly visible, and no one knew what to do about it. I just made it to the hallway when I heard it. Excuse me. Was that Mandarin? I turned. He was closer now, casual, calm, but alert, like a man used to watching before acting. Yes, sir, I said. And Spanish? Yes. And French. He raised an eyebrow, gave a small approving nod. Then, unexpectedly, he stepped forward and said, "Would you mind coming with me for a moment?" I didn't say no. I couldn't. We rode the elevator in silence. I kept my eyes on the numbers as they climbed. I'd never been past floor 5. The executive floors had always felt like another planet, somewhere above my pay grade and outside my story. When the doors opened on 18, I understood why. The air smelled like eucalyptus and new carpet. The hallway was quiet. Real quiet. Not the kind I lived in, the kind they designed on purpose. Everything up there looked like it had been dusted with money. He led me to his office. It had glass walls, soft gray furniture, a massive map of the world with colored pins that caught the light like stars. I sat when he gestured, careful not to scuff the floor. 9 languages, he said, finally settling into his chair. That's not just impressive, that's rare. I nodded, gave a polite smile. I didn't offer more. I'd learned not to overshare in rooms where I wasn't sure I belonged, but he leaned forward slightly. How does someone with your skill set end up cleaning our lobby? I looked at the map behind him. Lisbon, Jakarta, Montreal. I folded my hands. My name is Calvin, I said softly. Born in Georgia. Got a full ride to study linguistics. I wanted to work in interpretation, maybe teaching abroad. But then my mom got sick, and I came home. He nodded, didn't interrupt. After she passed, there was a baby, my niece, and bills. I needed whatever job I could get. This one had benefits. He didn't blink, didn't try to dress the moment up with pity. And I never stopped learning, I added. I study at night. I borrow audiobooks from the library, newspapers in 5 languages, forums online. I keep my skills sharp, even if nobody asks. There was a stillness in the room after that. Not cold, just waited. He picked up a small leather notebook and jotted something down. I couldn't see what. I guess, I said, people see the uniform and think that's the whole story. He looked up and met my eyes, not with sympathy, but something stronger, like understanding. Thank you for sharing that, he said, and stood. I stood too. That was it. No promises, no offers, just thank you. I returned to my post quietly, but something had shifted. Not just in me, in the way people glanced at me, still unsure, but curious now. As I walked back to the service corridor, I noticed something unfamiliar. People didn't just glance past me. They paused, eyebrows lifted. A few even nodded, like maybe I wasn't invisible anymore. That night, after I clocked out, I reheated rice and sat on the couch with the TV playing some show I wasn't really watching. My phone buzzed. An old intern I barely recognized had tagged me in a video. I clicked. There I was, helping the Mandarin-speaking guest, guiding the delivery man in Spanish, assisting the vendor in French. My voice calm, clear, composed. The caption read, This woman speaks 9 languages and changed how I see respect. I stared at it. Then I watched it again, and again. By midnight, the comments were pouring in. Why isn't she leading the team? Multilingual genius. Hire her already. By morning, it had over 300,000 views. Celeste hadn't said a word yet, but I knew that silence. I'd lived in it for years. Now it was her turn. As I walked back toward the service corridor, I noticed something I hadn't felt in years. Eyes lingered. Not in judgment, but in uncertainty. People paused mid-step. A few nodded. One even smiled, like they were starting to really see me. The morning after the video went viral, the atmosphere inside Halden and Company shifted. It wasn't loud, not yet, but I could feel it in the glances, in the way people paused just a second longer when I passed. Celeste didn't speak to me. She didn't have to. Her silence was too precise to be accidental. By midweek, the whispers had changed shape. Not just curiosity anymore. Now it was discomfort. Something unspoken hovered in the break room air, like fog. Then came the announcement. An internal cultural presentation, hosted by none other than Celeste Halden, Director of Corporate Communications. The poster said it was about global voices, inclusive spaces. The subtitle read, Building Connection Through Language. I shouldn't have been surprised. Still, I went. Not because I was curious, not out of pride, out of caution. I'd learned to follow the small cracks before they became chasms. The conference room was full, lights dimmed. Celeste stood center stage, perfect as always. Burgundy blazer, icy smile. Her voice oiled the room like she was born under a spotlight. Last month, she began, I encountered a moment that redefined how I see culture in the workplace. A Mandarin-speaking guest entered our lobby. No translator, no notice. I stepped in. I felt my chest tighten. She kept going. Then came a vendor from France and a delivery worker from Colombia. It wasn't strategy, it was instinct. My hand clenched around the strap of my bag. She was telling my story, word for word. And the photos in the background? Blurred shots from the lobby. My hand visible, my body cut out. She was there, but only as an observer. Now she was the center. The applause came right on cue. By the time I returned to my office, a sinking heaviness had settled over me. The nameplate outside my door still said nothing new. The badge still read Executive Associate Language Access, not the title she just claimed in front of the whole company. I didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, I emailed Christopher Vance. Just one line. Let me know when the time is right. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. That afternoon, I stopped by the janitor's closet out of habit. My old cart was still there, half-stocked. The green cloth I once folded with ritual sat untouched on the top rack. I didn't take it with me. I just looked at it. The next morning, my badge didn't scan. Larry, the security guard, frowned and checked his screen. Calvin Shipley? He asked, suddenly formal. You've been placed on administrative hold. I can't let you upstairs. My chest went cold. I called HR from the sidewalk. The voice on the other end was neutral, practiced. A formal complaint was filed, she said. It alleges that you accessed proprietary materials without clearance. Internal training content used in a public-facing presentation. Possible misrepresentation of credentials. Misrepresentation. They were building a case. I told her I would comply fully, that I had nothing to hide. She thanked me like I'd confirmed a lunch order. That afternoon, I sat in a glass conference room with an ethics officer who didn't blink. She asked if I'd created the slides. No, I said. I curated them. Were they cleared by media approval? No one ever asked what I was going to say. They just handed me the mic. She made notes. Her pen moved faster than my voice. It was all happening. And yet, I didn't feel panic. Not anymore. Something colder had taken its place. When I left that room, I didn't know where to go. My office was locked. My name was a rumor. Then I heard a voice. Miss Shipley. It was Bao, the intern. Skinny, brilliant, and too quiet for his own good. I saw the file, he said. The original deck. It had your name, time-stamped. I blinked. I screen recorded it. he added. The night before the presentation. Then they swapped the names. It's all there. My lungs remembered how to breathe. Send it to me, I said. He nodded and disappeared back into the hallway like he hadn't just changed everything. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, tea gone cold, screen glowing in the dark. I watched it. My name. My formatting. My phrasing. Then, 12 hours later, hers. Celeste Halden. Big, bold, centered. The same slides, rebranded. My voice scrubbed away. I copied it onto a flash drive, wrapped it in a cloth I no longer needed to carry, placed it inside a small box, and closed the lid. Then I wrote another email to Christopher Vance. I'll speak at Friday's staff meeting. No attachment, no explanation. I didn't need noise. I had proof. Friday came. The air inside Halden and Company felt thinner, like the whole building was holding its breath. The quarterly staff meeting was streamed across all departments, an event designed for unity, vision, pride. This one had a spotlight that burned. Celeste stood center stage again. Her burgundy blazer was back, this time paired with a gold chain that sparkled with every movement. The screen behind her read, Global Reach, Local Roots, Halden's Cultural Commitment. I sat in the second row from the back, hands folded, flash drive tucked into my pocket, wrapped in the same green cloth that had followed me for years. I didn't come to make noise. I came to let the truth breathe. Celeste's voice rang out. With our new multilingual initiative, we're building a world where no guest feels lost, where every voice is heard. She spoke with the conviction of a preacher, her words polished, rehearsed, but they weren't hers. Then came the photo. Her standing in the same hallway where I had helped 3 strangers in 3 different languages. She told the story again, claimed every part, every syllable, every moment. That was when I stood. I didn't say a word, just walked, slowly, deliberately. The laminate floor under my shoes echoed in the silence. Every step was louder than applause. I reached the AV station and turned to the assistant. May I? I asked. He hesitated, looked toward the front row. Christopher Vance gave one small nod. I plugged in the drive and hit play. The screen split in 2. On the left, the original slide deck, my name in the footer, my phrasing, my structure. A clip of me in the lobby, visible, real, present. On the right, the updated deck. Celeste's name, the same images, the same transitions, scrubbed, branded, stolen. Gasps whispered across the room. One voice said, "That's her voice." Another, "She copied it, word for word." I turned to face the crowd. I mopped these floors for 13 years, I said. I didn't expect praise. Most days, I didn't even expect eye contact. But I gave everything I had, because I believed in the work, in the people. I let the silence settle, then continued. What I didn't expect was to have my labor erased, my name replaced, my voice borrowed and dressed up like it belonged to someone else. I didn't raise my tone. I didn't need to. I'm not here to be a brand. I'm here to remind you that no vision is built on someone else's silence. Another pause. I'm not asking for applause. I'm asking for accountability. Celeste stood. That's not. Christopher Vance raised a hand. Sit. She froze. Slowly lowered herself back into her seat. One of the legal officers whispered in his ear. He nodded, still watching me. Miss Shipley, he said clearly to the room. Thank you. Please meet me in my office after this session. I nodded and walked back to my seat. The meeting wrapped in awkward applause. Celeste left through a side door, her face a mask too tight to wear much longer. By the time I returned to the 18th floor, her nameplate was already gone. Just a blank strip of metal where ambition used to live. My new nameplate waited quietly. Calvin Shipley, Director, Global Relations and Culture. Below it, someone had scribbled in marker. 9 languages, 1 voice. I didn't erase it. That evening, I found an envelope on my desk. No name, just a note inside. You changed how I see people. You gave me permission to dream out loud. And next to it, a green cloth. Not mine. New, uncreased. Someone had picked it up, chosen what it meant. Later that week, I met Bao for lunch at a tiny corner diner. He looked up from his coffee and said, "You didn't just clear your name, you cleared the way for the rest of us." I smiled. Not big, just enough. That afternoon, I stood in the parking lot, looking up at the building. I remembered wiping those lobby windows late at night when no one saw me, humming under my breath, dreaming. And now, I wasn't on the outside anymore. But I didn't feel triumphant, just real, complete. Not because I'd won anything, but because finally, I stood in the space that had always been mine. Not loud, not angry, just true,